Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're calling from. I'm here with Reza Rad this morning, and I have to admit, I've never done a webinar with my talent. My speaker, the presenter, is actually in a car out in front of a cafe. He had actually had some plans going into the city. He was going to do it in the city, and actually, it turned out the car was the best option. So, Reza, thank you very much for waking up at 4:30 this morning to get out into the city and make yourself available for this. How are you doing this morning?
Thank you, Chuck. It's a pleasure to talk with you. Great, I'm doing great. So the plan was me to go to the cafe and do the webinar from the cafe, and there are very few cafes that are open at like 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning in New Zealand, and this cafe unfortunately has some music running, so I decided to do that from car. Hopefully, it is okay.
It sounds good. Yeah. And what are we talking to about this morning? For the folks that don't know about your Power BI Helper, what is that? What are we going to see?
Okay, great. So Power BI Helper is a tool that we built in Radacat, and it's a tool that is going to help Power BI developers to build Power BI solutions easier. It's not something that they can build a Power BI solution with that. For that, they have to still use Power BI Desktop. But it is a tool that helps them, beside having Power BI Desktop, to manage their solution easier, which I'll explain about that.
Okay, sounds good. So with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'll have you go ahead and get started.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining this time of the day, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is. Hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. A little bit about me. I'm Reza Rad. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I think it is about 8 years now. Mainly focusing on Power BI these days. I used to be working a lot with analysis services, integration services, reporting services for some time. But mainly these days focusing on Power BI. I have also written some books which are available in the market. Some books on SQL Server. As I said, I've worked with those before, and some books on Power BI. One of those is a free book available called Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar. 1,100 pages. Don't try to print it. You can download it. It's free PDF. If you want to print it, make sure that you have enough papers in your printer. The new version of that book, Power BI from Rookie to Rockstar, is also coming later December. So stay tuned for that. And I have also a new book published, I think just last week, called Power BI Architecture, Pro Architecture. It talks about all different architecture aspects of Power BI, like sharing, security, things like that. My contact information is already here, and I'm an active blogger in Radacat website. If you heard about us, we publish free materials like articles about Power BI, AI, and topics related to that. My area of working specifically is on Power BI. And I'm based in Auckland. When I say I'm based in Auckland, most of people think that I'm based in Auckland in United States, in California, because that's what actually that's how it's let's say pronounced in in United States. But Auckland, I mean Auckland, New Zealand, which is quite far away if you can look at here, and that's about this place at the top that I live. Right now I'm in the city, but about that place at the top that I live. Okay, so with that introduction, let's go into our discussion about Power BI Helper, what it is, how it can help. So Power BI Helper is a tool that helps you to build Power BI solutions easier. Not to exactly build the solution. You still need to have Power BI Desktop. So Power BI Desktop would be your main tool for building the report, and it is a great tool. It's a tool that you can do almost everything in it. Power BI Helper is a tool that, beside Power BI Desktop, will help you to manage that. So what I'll do is I'll close this Power BI Desktop that I have, and I'll open Power BI Helper. Helper is a tool that you can get it downloaded. So first, let me show you how you can get this downloaded. We have a website address. I enable my zooming tool so you can also see it in the zoomed mode. We have a website address for that, radacat.com/Power BI Helper. And this will give you full explanation of first how to download it, how to get it downloaded, then full explanation of what each version of Power BI Helper does. The latest version that we have right now is the November 2018 version. The December version will come in a couple of weeks' time. And it would have much more features. So here you can track all the features that it has. Now, this tool is absolutely free. I have to mention it as well. You don't have to pay anything for that, because we thought if Power BI Desktop is free, why we should charge for a helper tool beside that. So this tool is free and will stay free forever. Okay, so let me show you how it works. So after installing the helper, you can basically open it. It's a tool that you have to select your Power BI file, so you have to already have a Power BI file built. And now, before selecting the Power BI file, let me explain what is the challenge that we have within that file, and then how we can solve it with Power BI Helper. I open a Power BI file that has a lot of visualizations in it. When you build a Power BI solution, you may have like hundreds of visualizations. Sometimes I even seen Power BI reports with 50 pages. And when you have that many pages, finding out about visuals used in which pages and cleaning up that model is not easy, right? So here you can see that I have a lot of pages here, a lot of different pages, and I may have a lot of tables, a lot of columns in this list, which I'm not sure that are these exactly used in every visual or every page here. The way that usually you find out that is this field used in a visual is to go to the visual, click on that visual. Then you will find out that, okay, in this visual, something from this table used and something from this table has been used, right? And then you can expand those tables and find out what is the field used in that visual, right? Now, you may have like hundreds of fields and hundreds of tables, and you want to find out which fields are not used in visuals at all to hide them, because you can easily go to a field, right-click on that field, and hide it, right? And when you hide it, you are making your model much more cleaner, right? To find that easier, we have this feature in Power BI Helper, which you can go and select your Power BI file. So I'm going to select that one. I'm going to select that file. And in an instant, it just show me the list of all fields used in the visual. So these are all fields used in any visuals in my in all of my reports, right? For example, from DIM customer, English education has been used. From let's say DIM date, calendar year has been used. From this table, quakes, origin time, longitude, latitude has been used. So with this simple list, you will get a list of all fields that has been used in a visuals, and then you can go and hide those that has not been used in Power BI Desktop. But you have to do that in Power BI Desktop. The reason is that we are not changing your Power BI file from Helper. Helper is just a tool that helps you to do an action, but in Power BI Desktop, not from Helper, right? It's not a substitute for your Power BI Desktop solution. This tab will apparently tell me that what fields has been used, and the tab beside it, which is Insight tab, will tell me what tables has been used. And when I know that these tables has been used, I can go and find a table that has not been used. Let's say, for example, I don't know, one of these tables, and then right-click on it and hide it. And I will make my model much simpler. As you can see in one of the pictures that I have here in the Power BI Helper website is I had a model with this amount of tables and fields, and after using Power BI Helper to figure out that which fields and which tables used and then hide the rest, I ended up with having much cleaner model like that, right? So it's not giving you one single option here to click and hide them all, but it will give you the option to find those that has been used and then go to the Power BI Desktop, those that has not been used, hide them, right? So this is one of the features of this tool. Another feature is that sometimes you want to find out that, for example, DIM customer or DIM date, or even a field, let's say a field like, for example, from DIM date calendar year used in which visual. Then you can go to the search tab and click on search, it will tell you all different places that this field has been used. Has it been used in a filter or any visual or a list like that? So which would be helpful then later on to find it. Like if you have 50 pages, then you can find all pages that has been used and apply some specific action on it, right? So these are features that are not very new in Power BI Helper. Let's talk about some features that are added a little bit recently. One of those features is ability to extract the entire M script of your Power BI file. A PBIX file, a Power BI file that you save, have some metadata information. One of these metadata information is actually the exact script that you have in Power Query. So for example, for this one, if I go to edit queries for this file, I'll see that I have a number of queries here, and each query may have a different set of transformation in Power Query. These transformation in Power Query usually have a script language behind the scene, which you can see that in Power Query by going to Advanced Editor, right? So going to Advanced Editor and getting the script for every single one of those. Now, it would be good to have these all listed somewhere later on for as a reference that you can go back to it and use it. So here we have this option that you can extract the M script. So when I click on it, I get the entire M script is not just for one query. As you see, it shows me all 9 queries that I have in my code. For example, this is dim customer, dim date, fact internet sales, all of those tables that I already have in my model. I have the script for those. And before, actually, we have this beautiful IntelliSense added in Power BI Desktop. We actually had the option that was beautifying this M script. So I'll go back to Power BI Helper again, which is beautifying M script, which if I click on it, it shows me that M script in a, let's say, more beautiful color-coded version. And you can also document that as well. We'll show that to you as well. But the main thing about this M script side of things is that you can extract the script, and then later on, if you want to use it in another Power BI file, this is the place that you can copy it from. You can also save this into a file. So I can save this M script, let's say in a file in my desktop. I would call it just for today date, so I can find it easier. I'm not good with memory. So let's find that file now. Yeah, here it is. So now if I open that file with Notepad, I have a file with the extension of M, this one, which has all of those M script, right? And can be helpful also for documentation and having a place for all of your Power Query scripts. That beautified M script tab will show it like that. But when it comes to an M file, you just get the script. If we document it out, we will have this color coding beside that as well, because the document version of that is an HTML version. Okay, now modeling analysis is another feature of this, which is quite great, and lots of people love it. Now, for showing you the modeling analysis, I open another Power BI file, which I have a lot of modeling configuration in it, because this one is more a file of lots of visualizations. So I'll close this one. And I open a one which has good set of calculations, modelings, everything in that. In the modeling tab, the first thing that works is that you have to have the Power BI desktop file open. The reason is that that is the way that Power BI Helper connect to this file. If you don't have it open, then we cannot connect to it from Power BI Helper. This is a model that I have. Don't need to see what visualization is, but we have a number of tables, and these tables are related to each other. We have a number of calculations, measures, and we need to find a place to see all these measures and tables and everything like that, right? So Power BI Helper, I can connect to that model. I just click on connect to model. It's going to find out that model for me, and it tells me that this model is an import data model. So if I have a Power BI model which is Connect Live, if it is direct query, composite model, it will find them all for me. It gives me list of all tables in the model, which I can find them. And if I click on any of these tables, I will see columns within that table. So it shows me columns within that table. Sometimes some of your tables have a description, like in Power BI. You can go to a field, to a table in a properties and put some description. This description is quite helpful because when you hover on it, you will see that description, right? You can find that also in the Power BI Helper. So when I select that table, I'll see the description of that table over here, right? You can search within tables. You can search within their description. Let's say, for example, if I want to search for something which is about details data, I'll filter it, and it tells me that that details data is in fact internet sales. So it's quite useful the way that it works, because then you can find that information even if it is between hundreds of tables. Same for fields. If your field has descriptions, you can find those, and you can search based on the field name or description. And the most important part of this tab is actually list of all measures. If you have measures all over places in Power BI desktop file, you can go to this place and find about those measures, like how many measures I have. Can I see the expressions of all of these measures? Because if you have used Power BI and you build a model for like 2 years, you probably already have more than hundreds of measures, right? And having a place to see all of those measures is quite useful. So on any of these measures, if you click, you will see the expression for that measure. And you will see something really powerful, which is the measure dependency tree. Like for example, let me show you one of these. Let's say I select this one, percentage of margin. So percentage of margin is one of my measures. I'll go to Power BI Desktop first to show you. So percentage of margin. As you can see, percentage of margin coming up here. Okay, percentage of margin is a measure that uses two other measures, sum of margin and sum of margin all. And every one of those measures may also have referenced other measures. Those may have also referenced other measures. Finding out the measure dependency tree is an important part of Power BI development, because then you can, if you are making a change and you want to see where this change will impact, or if you have a measure and you want to find out that is this measure really used in somewhere, let's say proper in a visualization or not, finding that with a dependency tree is a good option. And this is how this dependency tree works. So you select the measure. It first tells you the expression for that measure. Then when I expand the dependency tree, it tells me that this measure is coming from these two measures. And even you can go to the details of a measure, even if it is not referencing other measures. So sum of margin is referencing two columns, column sales amount, which is coming from fact table, and total product cost, which is also coming from the fact table. And the other measure, also the same thing, right? From sales amount and from total product cost, right? This will give you the entire tree all the way from the measure to all other measures that you have, to the tables, to the columns, to the tables, to the exact place that you have all of these details in it. And this ability is available for all measures that you have in your model. It's quite helpful, this measure dependency tree, and it works with all types of expressions that you have. Okay, now I'm going to pause for a second and see if there is any specific questions before I move on a little bit further.
Can you hear me okay, or am I muted?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so there was lots of questions about where do I get this tool? How do I download it? You're on the page right now, I see. Yeah. And it's actually over on the left, and it's down a little bit from where you're at. So scroll down, and a bunch of people are saying, scroll down. A little bit further. There it is. So a lot of people are saying they're not sending me Send me the free, send me the tool for free, that big red button. Can you actually put your mouse over that button for me, Reza?
So if you don't see this, it's a JavaScript plugin in this page. So probably you need to have JavaScript enabled in your browser. Usually Chrome has that enabled. Firefox, I'm not sure. Internet Explorer may not have it enabled. So if you don't see this option, try a different browser or try to open the JavaScript, enabled JavaScript. You should see that.
Okay, and I actually hit the button while John Carpenter was asking about that, and I've already got the link. So it took about, I don't know, 90 seconds for me to actually round trip, and I already have the link in, and I've already downloaded it. So I wanted to make sure that I tested the pathway all the way end to end. John was asking, same person, I think it was, or maybe it was John Fitzpatrick, was asking, how are you getting this data? So you might want to go ahead and open up File Explorer and crack open a PBIX for people to see, show them kind of what you're doing. Now, while Rez is doing that, what this tool does for him, I want to let you know we haven't documented this file format. So Reza gets to update his tool regularly. We break him regularly, and this is not something I'd recommend doing until we actually document it. And that's actually not in the near-term roadmap. So yeah, he is cracking open those files. Is how he's doing that.
Great. Okay, so I'll go a little bit into the details of where this information is coming from. But as Chuck mentioned, this is not something that is documented every single month that we get a new Power BI desktop. That configuration might change. So we do it because we keep it updated every single month. But if you rely on that configuration, because it's not something that's supposed to be used as like an API for working with your own application through that, so you don't expect this to work all the time, right? So I'm just showing you a little bit of like behind the scene for a Power BI file. So for example, this Power BI file, the visualization file that I showed you earlier, I'm going to show you what this file is. I just create a copy of that file to make sure that we are not changing that file specifically. And then I change the extension of that PBIX to zip. Yeah. And then I unzip that. I have 7-zip installed, but you can unzip it almost with everything. So I unzip it. Where did the unzip go? Yeah, okay. A structure of a Power BI file, a PBIX file, is something like that. It has different sections and different, let's say, information are in different sections, right? But again, while I'm explaining it, it's not something that you expect always to be like that. Sometimes some files is different. The next Power BI desktop version that comes may be different, right? There are some information here. For example, diagram states has information about relationships and tables in there. Same for diagram layout. Data model is the data itself. You cannot access it through here. You should have the ability to read the data in a binary format, which is quite locked, so you cannot read data from there. Data mashup, this is the place that I get the M script from. This is another zip file itself, so we extract that and we get M script from there. Things like visualizations, what fields used in which visualizations, those are things that I get from the report section of it. And there is a section for layout of the report, visuals. This is a JSON file, which has information like that. So we are parsing actually this JSON file, and it is a big file. It's not a small file. We are parsing this JSON file to read all of these. So this is the way that we get those information. There is also another part related to that. So you can read these, but you cannot read, let's say, measures. You cannot read most of things about the modeling. So these modeling features that you see here, like measure dependency tree and all of these, each measure, the expression of that, these are not coming from that file. These are something that you need to connect to the local port of Power BI Desktop to be able to get that, right? So two different places. I'm not going that much deep into the how to do that because these methods, as Chuck said, is not fully supported methods. If you implement it, then next month it may break. But if you use Power BI Helper, we will make sure that all times you get it up to date because we keep it updated every month with the new version of Power BI Desktop every time. Okay, right. So I'll continue.
Mahima was asking, if I click on a measure, there's actually two other questions, and I'll let you get back to it. He was asking, if I click on a measure, can I see the measures that depend on it? And then the other question was, and I forget who was asking it. Oh, John Fitzpatrick again was asking, how many levels of dependency actually can you traverse?
So it traverses all the way, let's say, so answering the second question first. So as many as level you got. If you have like 10 levels of dependency, hundreds of levels of dependency, this is just a tree that just goes on and on, right? So it will just continue going that way. To answer the first question, finding out measures that are dependent on this measure, that is exactly what this measure dependency tree is. So for example, percentage of margin is dependent on these two measures, and these two measures are building that, right? So we are seeing that from let's say top to bottom, not from bottom to top, but later on we will see a search box here. So that is upcoming feature, a search box there up that you can search for a measure, and you will find in all other measures that this measure has been used. So that is a coming feature. Okay, right. So continuing on the explanation on the modeling section, we also export the row-level security configurations of the model. So this model that I have, again, doesn't have row-level security configuration, but if it has, I will see all roles, tables that those roles has been implemented, and the role expression for those, right? So what I'll do is I'll close off this model again and open one which has some row-level security configuration. On a side note, you can have multiple Power BI desktops open and connect to multiple options on those as well. So I just opened one of these row-level security. I just close and open because I don't want to make it so confusing. That's why. Otherwise, you have the combo box here, the drop down that you can switch between different Power BI desktop models. So this one that I got, it will have list of it will not have that many tables, very few tables, but the thing is that this one will have some row-level security configuration. So in the Power BI desktop, I go to the manage roles. This is the place that I find about all security configurations. And if you want to know what the row-level security is, I already did another webinar some time ago under the same channel. You can go and search for it and find it. You can have row-level security configurations with DAX filter on different sections. So these information would be possible to see here. So I see that I have two roles, and this role, for example, has a filter on this table, and this is the filter criteria for that. Or this role has a filter on this table, and this is the filter criteria for that, right? So it's a good place to find out about all of these information, right? We can export these all to document, but let me continue explaining other tabs, and we'll get back to this one more time. So I go back to that DAX model that I had, which had a lot of calculations, because that's a good place to show you the next tab for modeling advice. Now, modeling advice is one of those places that can help you a lot in performance tuning your model. Because building a model is one side of Power BI Power BI solution, and the other side of the model is to find out, let's say, what you can do to performance tune your model. Like, for example, we build a model like this, right? And in building that model, you can have relationships which is single directional and both directional. Both directional relationships are not good for performance, and you should avoid those as much as possible. Now, when you have like 5 tables in your model, it's easy to find both directional relationship. But what if you have 50 tables in your model? What we can do in Power BI Helper is, after connecting to a model, we can go to the modeling advice, and it will tell us if there is a both directional relationship. Apparently, I don't have any, but if there is a both directional relationship, it will show me that it is from this table to this table. If there is an inactive relationship, it shows me inactive relationship. Having inactive relationship is not a problem by itself, but it gives you a tip that if you are using an inactive relationship, make sure that you have used use relationship function in a DAX measure. Otherwise, there is no point of having inactive relationship, right? That's the whole purpose of this modeling advice tab, to give you some advices about your modeling. And this is a tab that we will work on this a lot. So you will see a lot of new features on this coming up. And one of the most exciting features of this is actually this last part. This is just released last month in Power BI Helper. You can find exactly how much space every column takes in your Power BI model. For example, in the fact internet sales, the sales order number is taking like about 800K. This is in megabyte, 800 kilobyte size, right? Now, how that can be important, you may have a really big Power BI, let's say, model, a really big Power BI file, which I'm going to show you an example of that. So here in my desktop, I have a Power BI file. So I just sort it based on the size. I have a Power BI file, which you can see it right now here. It's a file that has 107 megabyte size, right? It's not really big. Sometimes you have files like 800 megabytes. But I'm just trying to say how we can use that modeling advice tab to reduce this size. Sometimes you can apply some changes in this to make it much smaller, right? So I'll open that in Power BI from here, let's say. From Power BI desktop, I open that file. And when I open it, I open that file in the modeling advice tab, I would be able to see the details of that. So let me wait for a little bit to get this Power BI desktop opened. Yep, OK. So now open sample with ID. Yep, that is that file. And this file may have like hundreds of columns, tables, things like that. You want to find out what are those columns that are consuming the most space in your model. That is usually one of the most important things that you need to find out when you are doing performance tuning or analyzing the size, right? So I'll go to the connect to the model section. I connect to that model. Then under modeling section, here you can see actually what are the dictionary size of each one of those files. So for example, this is each column. So for example, it is saying that in the sales table, the prefix column is the most expensive column. It's consuming 144 megabyte. Now, when you compare this size with the size of file was 107 megabyte, right? So it's not possible to have one column 144 megabyte. The reason is that the size of the file is a little bit compressed. When it comes to memory, it expands a little bit. So these sizes are not exactly the PBIX size file. But what it tells you is that, for example, these few first columns, especially the first two columns, are the most expensive columns in my model. These are columns that altogether, they are consuming the majority of the space, because if you see, everything else is less than 1 megabyte, but these two is like 100 megabytes each. And then if you figure out that you don't need these columns, because it is just added because it was in the table, and you go and remove it. I already did it, so I'm not going to do it again. If you go and remove it, then you end up with something totally different. So this is a removed version of just those two columns. And you see from 107 megabyte, we changed it to something like 11 megabyte. It's like a big change. It's like you are saving like 90% of the file size with a change like that. I'm not saying that you can always remove all the columns that you have, but I'm saying that this tab, this information will help you to find out the most expensive columns in your model in terms of the memory consumption, and then use it for performance tune your model. OK, the next feature that I'm going to talk about is about bookmarks. So I'll close this one again, and I open another one. So bookmark is another interesting feature in Power BI Desktop. If you have used Power BI Desktop for some time, you already know that bookmarks are great features. And the way that they help is that you can save the current state of a page as a bookmark and use it. Now, imagine that you have a Power BI file with, like, again, 50 pages, 30 pages, a lot of pages. And you have also a lot of bookmarks. sometimes you go and change a page. You want to find all bookmarks that are associated to that page and go and update those as well, right? Or sometimes you want to find, for example, where this specific bookmark is pointing out. For example, in this file, I go to the bookmarks pane. I see that I have these bookmarks, right? And when I click on these bookmarks, it shows me where these are located, right? But when I click on a page, it doesn't tell me that this page has these bookmarks in it, right? So that's what we did in Power BI Helper. So I'm going to connect, so to select that file again. That was, and in the bookmark section, so it shows me all pages that I have. My page names are not really well defined. It's like page 1, page 2, page 3, but you got the point. So all pages that I have, and then if I and all bookmarks that I have. If I select a page, it will filter and show me which bookmarks used there. If I select a bookmark, it will filter the page section and show me all pages that, not all pages, the only single one page that has this bookmark. So if I start by selecting the page, you see that, for example, page 1 has only one bookmark here. Or if I go to other pages, page 2, we have like 3 bookmarks for page 2. Or if I select a bookmark, it tells me that this bookmark is related to this page, this is related to that page, right? Again, simple help, but helping you to find out a little bit more about the visualizations that you build within your Power BI file, right? One last thing about this Power BI Helper is that it will also document everything out for you. So everything that you have in your Power BI file, it will document everything out for you, and you can use it for great documentation. So I'm going to use, again, that model which had DAX calculation in it, because you'll see documentation of that much better with all expressions. So I'll open that, and I open it here as well. This tool is not just a tool for showing you this information, but it is also a tool to actually give you those details in a documented way. So I'll go to connect to a model, which gives me all of these information, and then I say export to document. The documented version of this would be an HTML file. So I just use this default name. It is now documented. Let me open it based on the date. So it should be this one. Yep. Okay, so I open it. So this is the Power BI model documentation for this file, and it is generated at this date. These are a list of tables. If your table have description, it will show those descriptions. List of measures. This is the very useful parts of this. You can see every single measure, where that measure is located, if you have any description for that, and the expression for that measure, right? All of those expressions. If you have any of these measures with really long expression, you will see all of those as well. In every table, you will see list of columns in that table. Sometimes you have calculated columns as well, and sometimes you have description for those columns. You will see all of those information. For example, here in this fact table, I have a calculated column. It says that it is a calculated column, and the expression for that, right? All of these information. If I have row level security configuration, it will extract that information as well. And it will also extract the mscript part. So the entire Power BI file is documented through this way. It's a great option for you to, let's say, create a document from the work that you have done. So later on, if another team member comes and want to find out that what you have done, you just give them the documentation, and they can follow along to continue the model. Okay, that was almost everything that I wanted to say. So do we have any questions, Chuck?
How about if I unmute? Okay, so John Carpenter was asking if he wanted to ask for more information about this, or maybe actually offer suggestions. Can you put that email back up to where we can go out and connect with you as far as this tool? It was
Yes, yes.
ideas. Oh, there it is.
So,
It's the last slide, slide 4. Ideas
this
at
is
Redicat.
ideas@redicat.com. So
And
if you have any ideas, we do appreciate every one of you who send us your ideas, because that helps us to build this tool much better. So just send your ideas, whatever it is, to ideas.redicat.com. It is definitely something that we can get used.
And I've actually already posted that link in there. Karen brings up a great usage for something like this. As she has a bunch of business analysts working on our PBIX files and she's marching forward, this is a great way of documenting what's changing from version to version to version, and she can actually keep up to date with that. So Karen, absolutely, that's one of the reasons actually Reza built this tool, is to go out and do some forensics and figure out what's in that file and what's changing as he rolls forward. Let's see what else we got. Scott Powell, have you thought about adding a feature to document every visual, what page it's on, what type it is, whether it is a custom visual, certified visual? Actually, I thought you already had that.
So we have it already in the tool, but that part is not documented in the document. So that part is coming. So you see in the coming features, so one of those is more documentation of the visualization. Right now, visualization, we will list that in the tool itself. We'll tell that which fields has been used in visuals, which pages, all those kind of things, but we don't have that documented. So that is coming.
So Karen asked another great question. Not that there were any bad questions, but I don't think the PBIX maintains this, which is basically kind of a who done it. So as I go out and modify the file from person to person, it doesn't get marked as a signature of who they're logged in as. That's not maintained in the file anywhere, is it? I can't.
No, nothing that at least we know, because I may open a PBIX file and I have not logged into the Power BI desktop, so there is not easy way to find out.
Yeah, so there's no blame audit trail. Karen, great question. Because what she was wanting to know is, as it gets changed and she sees someone added a measure, she would love to know who, so that way she could backtrack it through.
Yeah, I think for that we need to interact with Power BI service. So one of other features that are coming, so a lot of features are coming, but one of those features is to interact with Power BI website and service and analyze models in there, analyze the data up there. These audit trail is available in Power BI service as part of the Office 365 audit trail, but not in the desktop. So we may be able to bring those. And one of those features that is also we are bringing is to be able to control and manage your model in the Power BI service. We are waiting for the great feature to be available soon in Power BI called XML endpoint. With that, this tool would be able to interact with that model in the service much easier and do things like that.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting. I was talking to Rez about that. So what that means, just to kind of go a step further, is you be able to use a tool like what we're looking at here and have him reassemble different workspaces with different data sets, different visuals, different reports, and actually upload those piecemeal, so you can actually reassemble it as needed. So I may even do a checkbox and say, hey, I want these 5 attributes, and then upload those. So Donald Parrish was late. Shame on you, Donald Parrish. That's all right. We understand. Chris Gray actually asked a question that it's come up a couple times. So the underlying data set, when you interrogate it is irrelevant, right? These are just pointers for you, or yeah, they're just pointers as far as what you're actually documenting. So whether or not it's a AS or a live query or a data flows, you just have a pointer as far as what the data set attribute is. Is that correct?
Yes, so that data set is located somewhere in analysis services. If it is in Power BI desktop, it is located in analysis services version of your Power BI of your local machine. If it is in the website, it's there. If it is in analysis, it's in analysis services. So there is always an SSAS connection. So what we do is just to create a connection to that analysis services, finding the port for that, creating the connection, and then revealing all the information related to that.
So Nama was saying that when they connect to a tabular model. The analysis is blank for many of those sections, and that's because of what you just said, is that it isn't in the PBIX. It actually is on the AS side. So that
Correct.
makes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So right now, this tool, when you use a live connected Power BI version, because in that scenario, then Power BI doesn't have that much, let's say, modeling in it. It doesn't show that much information. So that is also one of the features that is coming. You would be able to, even in the live connection, would be able to connect to the live source for that, which is analysis services directly, and get this documentation from there.
So Fahmi Mohammed goes out and says, "Great tool! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!" So you got a fan. I have a question. When I tried the M script and I tried to extract the M script into that block, by the way, that is awesome. I don't know if you realize why it's so awesome, but when people are playing with data flows and you're using Power Query Online, a lot of the UI for building that M script is not online yet, but you can copy and paste that M script directly into your data flows. So having it in one place, Reza, is going to be a huge time saver for a lot of these people who are creating data flows. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. But anyways, as I was moving on, they extract the M script, your tool hung. So Fahmi, what I'm going to recommend, I'll give the microphone back to Reza in a second, is go ahead and get the smallest PBIX that is causing this hang and send that to actually ideas@radicad.com. Reza and Layla won't share that file out with anybody, but they can use it to actually fix their tool itself. So Reza, any other suggestions on that for Fahmi? He says
Yes, that's exactly. So we haven't seen this froze when you extract MScript, but if you see that happening, send us your file. We'll definitely not share it with anyone. So as Chuck said, and any other places, like for example, you use measure dependency and see that it's not exactly working as you expected, just send us your file. We'll check it out for you. And in the next version of Power BI Helper, we'll make sure that it is fixed.
So we'll use Steve Kruger's as the last question, because I know that we both have got meetings hard up at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Steve asks, you may have already answered this, but does the tool prompt you to open the PBIX file when a particular feature of the tool needs you to do so?
Yes. So, for example, if I want to look at these sections of the tool, so let me just open the tool again from the beginning. So when I want to see those details, like for example, let's say I want to see this visualization section, right? It doesn't show me anything, so I have to select the file to do that. So if I don't have this, I have to select the file. So I select the file, and then it gives me those information. Or if I don't have the model opened, and I go to the model analysis and say connect to model, it tells me that I have to open the Power BI file. After opening Power BI file, let's say I open the Power BI file, parts of it, just one of these. Then I go to the model analysis, I connect to it. It tells that you also have to open Power BI file in the Power BI desktop before doing this action, because the connection to model needs that. So it will give you some prompts like that.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to give it back to you to close, but I want to thank you very much for actually waking up so early and making this amazing tool available. Hopefully, after the XML endpoints, we can actually go back and actually document the PBIX file, so it's a little bit easier for you to keep on track of it. So, Reza, any other closing thoughts?
Great. Thank you, Chuck, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed this information. Power BI Helper, we try to keep that updated frequently. We can't promise to do it as frequent as Power BI Desktop, because Power BI Desktop, they are doing really great job of updating Power BI Desktop every single month. We may not be able to do that. We try to do that, but at least one of the sections that you get in Power BI Helper is to get the auto update. So not automatically updating, but at least it will tell you that there is an update and you can download that update. So go ahead, play with this tool. It's a tool built for you. It is free. It is going to be free forever. And if you have any ideas that makes this tool better, just let us know.
And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you want to catch up with me and Reza, what's the best place to do that?
So we have a conference coming up in February, 18th to 20th of February, called Dfinity. I'll just bring that website just for a second.
And
Definity.
while he's bringing up the website, I'm actually doing an advanced administration session. It's going to be 8 hours. It's going to be hands-on, and we're going to actually walk through how you get access to a lot of those admin features that Reza was talking about. So there's the conference. Me and Sergey are going to come out, and Sergey is going to be doing the developer features to actually go ahead and build your own tools. And there's a picture of me and Sergey. Matt is actually the guy who did a lot of the original M work and Power Query stuff. So I don't know if we're an all-star cast, but we're certainly a select cast. Reza,
Yes.
Layla, I really appreciate you actually making yourselves available for webinars like this, and of course, conferences like Dfinity.
Great, thank you. And everyone who is in Southern Hemisphere, we would love to see you in Dfinity. Everyone who is not, please go and enjoy the Power BI Helper.
All right, thank you very much, Reza.
Thank you.